Dudes and dudettes, I'm Madi. To my right, Daniel Scott, Annabelle Watson, and Merrick Rhodes. And we're here on Box Score with the top 5 games of the week. I'm going to kick it over to Annabelle Watson with number 5.
Thank you, Madi. Starting off, we're previewing number 10 Penn State and number 5 Michigan. Both teams are undefeated and will be meeting at noon on Saturday at Michigan Stadium. Guys, what are your scores predictions for this matchup between these Big Ten juggernauts?
Well, personally, neither of these teams have really faced anyone yet. It's going to be the first test of the year for both teams. Michigan, all-around better team, more complete on both sides of the football. I got Michigan winning this one 42-31.
All right, Danny, I'm right there with you. All-time against the Nittany Lions, they're about 15-10. Both teams are going to look to run the ball, but Michigan has the better run defense. I don't think they only allow 82 yards per game. So, I got this one going to Michigan. I think 30-27 is around where it's going to go.
Yeah, I definitely think that Michigan will take this one home. J.J. McCarthy is 5th nationally in passing efficiency, so just a very efficient quarterback there. I have Michigan 28, Penn State 25. How about you, Merrick?
I would love to say that I would be the underdog here, but I am also going to be going with Michigan. I think their rushing offense behind Blake Corum is just going to be too much for the Nittany Lions. I have it as 35-24 Wolverines. Now shifting over from the gridiron to the diamond, for number 4, we have Guardians at Yankees from Tuesday night. And as someone who was fortunate enough to be in the building, I can tell you that the energy was electric there. The first home playoff game in the Bronx since October 18th, 2019, where Garrett Cole was the opposing pitcher for the Astros. It was his first start since his first playoff start since his blunder last year in Boston. And it really was the Yankees game for the entire time. Bronxville native Harrison Bader led off the scoring with a solo shot. It was at that point that I got drenched in beer from behind me. Following that up, Cole began to shove as the ace should in the playoffs. And Anthony Rizzo capped it off with a towering 2-run home run to right field to the second deck. Guys, my question to you is, after Game 1, what are your thoughts on this Yankees team? Can they make it the whole way and win the World Series?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they kind of proved that this is a team to be reckoned with going forward in the playoffs. This team is kind of built for that situation, a lot of home runs. You got guys like Judge, Stanton, Rizzo, even Bader showing the pop. So I think if you look at it historically, the team that hits the most home runs in the playoffs wins the World Series.
Danny, let me get in here. You're absolutely right. The Yankees have a lot of good offense, and coming from a Yankees fan, I would really love to stick it to the Astros. It's been 5 going on 6 years of pain. I would love to see them again. But I feel like we got a bye series this time. I don't think the Guardians are much of a threat. Garrett Cole came out of a mean slump and pitched a really good game. So I see the Yankees winning this series, and then we could take it all the way.
Yeah, I definitely think Yankee fans should be excited. I think something we saw in the Mets series when they lost to the Padres was that they were just simply outslugged. But the Yankees have the slug. They have Aaron Judge, who didn't hit a home run in the first game, but hopefully we will see one soon. So I think with that slug power and with good starting pitching, hopefully we'll get pretty far.
All right, awesome. Before we talk about the top 3, just a reminder, you are listening to Box Score presented by Fordham Live, and now to the top 3. Let's talk about the Chiefs and Raiders Monday Night Football. A wonderful game. The Chiefs looked out of it. The Raiders controlled most of the games, went up as many as 17. Devontae Adams, best receiver in football, had 2 scores, a bunch of yards. Josh Jacobs contributed as well, also had a score. Third card looked like he was about to get a win, but the Chiefs always come knocking, always come back. Travis Kelce, presumably the best tight end in football. 4 touchdowns on 7 receptions, only 25 yards. Mahomes doing his thing, 292 yards, 4 touchdowns. And they came back, they won. Devontae Adams ended up pushing a dude. That's how mad he was after a failed play. But let's talk about the Raiders. Traded for a number 1 receiver. Darren Waller's there. Hunter Renfrow. You got a bunch of receivers. Quarterbacks making about $30 million. They're underperforming. Where do you see their season going?
I see one other thing you forgot to mention. It's a new head coach. And there was one play in particular that in the moment I was questioning it, and now after the game only further questioning it, is the Raiders' decision to go for 2 when they could have just tied the game with the PAT and decided to go for 2 for the lead, and obviously it clearly came back to bite them.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this Raiders team, you would think up and down the roster they're built for success. They go out, get a guy like Chandler Jones in the offseason to kind of bolster that defense, trade for arguably the best receiver in the league in Devontae Adams, and he had a great game. 3 receptions, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. After the game, getting that little misdemeanor assault charge, not exactly ideal if you're a Raiders fan, but this team is very underperforming, and I think that AFC West as a whole hasn't looked as good as they should.
Yeah, definitely. They're definitely underperforming, but that Devontae Adams shove kind of made it even worse. And now there's going to be a lot of drama surrounding the team, which is always not good and can cause an underperforming team to just do even worse.
I guess they call it Sin City for a reason.
And moving on to number 2, we have some heroics from a baseball player. Yordan Alvarez, 3 for 5, 5 RBIs in the 8-7 win over the Seattle Mariners. And guys, is Yordan Alvarez the best player in the playoffs?
I mean, he certainly could be, and I know he's certainly now the Seattle Mariners' least favorite player, because the Mariners led the game from the first inning to the second inning with 4-0 lead and continued to carry it all the way to the bottom of the ninth before Yordan Alvarez.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the biggest thing about a playoff player is that they have to be clutch, and clearly in both games he's been clutch. No other way to describe it. I think that he's definitely the standout of the playoffs so far, and we'll see what's to come. Unfortunately, I think he's going to make the Astros go pretty far in these playoffs, which is never great.
Yeah, which is never great. I mean, at least it's not Altuve doing it to us. But Yordan Alvarez, I literally refreshed my page, and then they won the game. And then this is 2 games now. They're up 2-0. I feel like Houston's going to take it. Doesn't matter to me as long as my Yankees could pack them up. So.
And if you want to talk about clutch, Annabelle, that Yordan Alvarez home run, statistically speaking, boosted their winning chances by 91%. Mm-hmm. It is technically the clutchest hit in playoff baseball history.
93 miles per hour, was it? Oh, my God.
And on to number 1, the top game of the week. Number 6, Tennessee, will host number 3, Alabama. And this is by far the top college football game of the week. Essentially a top 5 matchup. They have a couple guys above Tennessee, but that's just because they got 3 SEC schools in the top 5. This game is made out to be absolute fireworks. I'm interested to see who Alabama's going to play at quarterback. Bryce Young sat out last week in that near upset to Texas A&M. But what are you guys' thoughts on this one? Who do you have winning this game?
You know, I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Tennessee is a team that hasn't beaten Alabama since 2006. I was 4 years old at the time. But the key thing here, I think, is that this is a different Tennessee team, and this Tennessee home fan base has shown that they can travel and they can be loud. Last week, they were singing Rocky Top in Death Valley as they were beating up on the Tigers. So I think that home crowd is going to be huge for them. I have a 42-35 Tennessee win in Neyland Stadium.
I have a Bama win just because of that really good Bama defense. I do think Tennessee's star quarterback Hendon Hooker will kind of give them a run for their money. I'm predicting a close game, Bama 39, Tennessee 35, but you know, I think that could kind of be questionable depending on Bryce Young's health. But if Bryce Young is under center, then I'm going to go with Bama.
Let me tell you something. Bama, when you talk about Alabama Crimson Tide, you talk about stars. Will Anderson and Jahmyr Gibbs. Will Anderson, the projected number 1 overall pick. I think he's going to do some work on their offense. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's emerged on offense since Bryce Young's injury. He's rushed for 206 yards, I believe, against Arkansas, 154 against Texas A&M. Whether or not it's Young who starts or Milroe, Tennessee needs to stop Gibbs in the backfield. So I got Alabama taking it. Clean, heavy sweep. Might drop 50.
So here's where I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. Even if Bryce Young is playing, do we think he's 100% healthy? Do we think he's going to be that Heisman Bryce Young that we saw? And I think Hendon Hooker is arguably the best quarterback in the NCAA this year. I got Tennessee winning this one in a close one, 28-27. And thank you to everyone for tuning into Box Score. I am Danny Scott, joined by Madi Dembele, Annabelle Watson, and Merrick Rhodes. A special thank you to Jim Shear for producing today. Box Score is a production of Fordham Live.